Hey, I'm Sasha, and today we're talking about ancestral guides, who they are, how to know if you found the right one, and what do they do. Different spiritual traditions have different definitions of an ancestral guide. So it's important to note right off the bat that there is no universal definition for what is an ancestral guide or what they do. I am trained by Dr. Daniel Foor and the senior practitioners of ancestralmedicine.org. So what I'm sharing here today is what we mean when we say ancestral guide and the role that they play in the healing methodology that we are trained in. I'll also be sharing some of my own experience of my ancestral guides. Okay, first question, who are they? Ancestral guides are vibrantly well in spirit ancestors that may have lived some time ago who are deeply connected to the place on earth your people are from. They likely also have affinities or spirit affinities with the land and culture of your people. So the plants, the animals, the earth where you're from. Sometimes as you develop your relationship with your ancestral guides, you might even notice that sometimes they present themselves as the land where they're at. So for example, my father's people buried their dead in sacred oak groves. So oak groves and oak are really important to my father's people. And sometimes when I call them in, they come to me presenting as oak. The next question is, how do you know if you found the right ancestral guide? So during an ancestral lineage healing session, as the practitioner, I would lead you into a dropped-in ritual space. And once you're there, you are going to turn to your lineage of focus. For example, your mother's father's lineage, with the intention to connect with an ancestral guide on that lineage. Off the bat, you might sense a presence, or it may take some time. But once you sense an ancestor on this lineage, we're going to ask them 3 questions. Number 1, are you a blood ancestor on this lineage? In the example I just used, it would be, are you a blood ancestor on my mother's father's lineage? The second question is, are you able and willing to bring about the healing of this lineage? And the third question is, are you connected with the ancestors before you? The ancient grandmothers and grandfathers down through time, are you connected with the wise and loving ancient ones? If you get a yes on those 3 questions, then the final question that I have for you during a session is, do you feel good about this connection? Is this the ancestral guide that you wish to work with on this lineage? If you agree, then we go straight into a proper greeting and attunement with this ancestral guide. Now, it's important to note that sometimes multiple people or multiple ancestors can come forward when you're looking to connect with the lineage, but not all of them might meet this criteria. If that happens to you, don't be discouraged. It's somewhat common. 2, 3, 4 people might come to you before you actually meet the ancestral guide that you will work with. Also, sometimes that guide might come to you right away as they've been waiting to connect with you. So really, either can happen and both are perfectly good. Okay, so the third question is, what do ancestral guides do? So ancestral guides can have many roles. I'm simply going to break down the most 3 common roles based on my experience. Role number 1 is healing for the dead. So it is ultimately the responsibility of your ancestral guide to bring about the healing of this lineage. As the practitioner, I am not bringing about the healing. you as the client, you are also not doing the healing. The healing sits at the foot of your ancestral guide, who is wise and well and connected to the deep old medicine of your people. They are the most able to bring about the healing of your lineage, whatever kind of healing and medicine these people need. In my experience of my own ancestral guides, they are deeply committed to the healing of their people. These are people who lived well and died well and want that same level of healing and vibrant wellness for their sons and daughters in their lineages, which is you and your family and the more recently deceased. The second role that I have seen them providing is spiritual counsel, or connecting you with the wider web of support that's available to you. You can think of them as elders. So when you need advice, or if you are coming to them for a blessing for a time that you're going through, like if you are starting a big important endeavor, if you are getting married, if you're experiencing the passing of a loved one, these are all very important time, almost rites of passage that your ancestral guides can be with you during. Recently, I was driving to the grocery store and I was feeling very overwhelmed by all of the needs of my family, feeling overwhelmed by things at work. And when I got to the grocery store, I was sitting in the parking lot and I just started crying. And I decided to drop in with my people, specifically my mother's people. Their first words were comforting. They held me, they showed me they loved me, they comforted me. And then in the next moment, I saw them as warriors, as fierce, strong, literal warriors. And I had seen that side of them a little bit, but this was the first time that I really saw the level of physical strength that they had and the kind of ferocity to do what was theirs. And there were no words, but intuitively what I felt was that they were arming me with their strength and their physical stamina to be able to do what was mine. And then in the next moment, I felt this kind of like launching in my body, and I could feel my body, but my body was different. It had a different form. The first thing that I felt were my arms, and I could feel different currents of wind touching different parts of my arm. And I could feel that my legs were really pulled back and behind my body. And then even my neck had, I remember this distinctly, that my neck had a very distinctly different shape. And I realized in that moment that I was a heron. And if you've seen my other videos on heron, I'll link a video in which I mention heron here. Heron is super sacred to my mother's people. Not only is she the psychopomp, which is the spirit guide who brings the souls of the dead back to their ancestors on this lineage, but also she is my fierce protector. You know, she carries the medicine of that strong, protective, feminine energy. And as I was flying with my people, I heard a voice who I've heard before, and she said, "We will carry you." And that experience there in the parking lot of the grocery store brought me deep joy and strength to keep doing what I was meant to be doing. So it's also to say that ancestral guides and your ancestors can also help you to regulate and to realign with your life's purpose. especially perhaps during times of distress. The other thing I want to tease out in the second point is activating this wider web of support. Since your ancestral guides are the ones who are connected to the old ways, the ways of the land of your people, that old magic, you could even say, they can also connect you with the spirits of the land there, or the deities who they're associated with, to support you in whatever it is you're doing, right? While your ancestors and your ancestral guides were alive on Earth, they had resources, people to go to, people to ask for help. And those resources are still available for you today. For example, one of the themes of my mother's father's lineage is harmony, balance, good regulation, going low and slow. And one of the gifts that they have shared with me that I have cultivated over the last couple of years is sound healing. Historically, my ancestral guide himself was a sound healer and helped me to understand that I too could experience deep healing through sound healing. My father's mother's side, who are from Great Britain, and they have affinities with a river deity, and the absolutely healing presence of water and doing water ritual in my life has been incredibly impactful and profound. So what I'm also saying is that if you bring your questions and your needs to your ancestral guides, they can connect you with a wider web of support that you are already intrinsically belonging to, because it's of your people. It literally runs in your blood and through your veins. These practices and these medicines are native to you. Finally, I want to talk about the work of ritual prescriptions, or giving you invitations to deepen. Ancestral guides are the ones bringing about the healing of your people, of you and your lineage. And sometimes there are different ritual prescriptions or invitations to do certain things to help them in this endeavor. There are lots of different ways that different spiritual traditions talk about this, that if there is something kind of wrong or off in the ancestral realm, we can make offerings and do things here in the physical realm. And then if things are kind of off in the physical realm, they can do ritual in the ancestral realm. We mirror each other, and there is a symbiotic relationship between us. And so your ancestral guide, who is most deeply connected with the old and wise medicine of your people, can give you ritual prescriptions to do to facilitate personal healing, or healing for your family, or healing for your deceased family. And they can be easy, simple things. Like, for example, your guide could ask you to light a candle and to say the name of your grandmother with loving, healing intention. They might also ask you to spend some time in your garden reconnecting with the earth where you're at, or to take your kids on an excursion. If there's some bigger, more significant healing happening somewhere in your lineage, they might even ask you for a multi-day ritual or something to do. For example, they might ask you to go and pray a certain prayer or sing a certain song every day for 12 days at this certain spot. Either way, your ancestral guide is going to be able to help you to facilitate that healing for your deceased family, your living family, and for you personally. I hope that this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.